First of all, I'd like to welcome you to the insurance series, a series of free webinars giving you insight into what insurance is and what cover you may need. Now, this is part one today, and today we will be discussing health insurance. Before we start, please allow me to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me already. My name is Michael Christophis, and I'm a senior associate at Holborn Assets, and I've been giving advice to expats for over 15 years on their finances and protecting their futures. Now, whether that may be investments, savings, or insurance, I am here to help. Now, today, I have with me Thomas Ebbs from Pacific Prime. Tom, do you just want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, Michael. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So my name's Tom. I work for Pacific Prime as a senior insurance advisor. So I've been with the company just under 2 years now. I'm based in our Thailand office in Bangkok. So predominantly my focus is on health insurance for expats in Thailand, although we do also serve expats across the region in Southeast Asia. I also help facilitate expats with life insurance, with business insurance, as an array of different insurance solutions. So yeah, based here in Thailand, and yeah, nice to
That's
see you all,
great.
and hope you find this
That's
useful.
great. Obviously, as you know, today we're going to be discussing health insurance. Now, there will be a live Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please just click the question box and type them in there, and we will answer all of them at the end. Right, let's dive in. So, Tom, let's start really simple. What is health insurance?
Of course. So it's a financial safety net. So in the event of hospitalization and a worst case scenario where someone's admitted to hospital, a health insurance policy provides the financial compensation to pay medical bills directly to the hospital. Ultimately, look, we know that in today's world, nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone next week or next year. So ultimately, the uncertainty is removed somewhat with an insurance policy. So you know that should you be admitted to a hospital for, say, a week's stay, or even seeing a doctor or a GP consultation, you know that with a prudent insurance policy, they're going to be there for you when you need it most. And ultimately, look, it's peace of mind as well. Ultimately, I think a lot of people will purchase insurance for that exact reason. But also, it does turn an unknown, potentially very large medical bill into a known and manageable cost as well through an annual premium that you pay to the insurance provider, which can also support long-term financial planning as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart way of looking at it when you talk about knowing your costs. Obviously, in my role is to protect people's finances. And if you are protecting that cost, you know exactly what it is, no matter what may happen over time. And I think that's a really good way of looking at it.
Mm.
Okay. So obviously we sort of understand now what health insurance is, but who should have health insurance and why?
Well, everyone has a need to buy health insurance, although everyone's need is slightly different. So I know we may get onto this later on, but some people, particularly expats in Thailand, where I'm based, will purchase for reasons for visa requirements, where there is specific requirements that immigration will need. So that's fine. Other people, as I mentioned, for the peace of mind. For others, it's to protect their families or protect their future. And look, whether you're a young professional or a teacher, or in a family, or you're a retiree or a long-term resident, there's always a need to buy insurance. And look, ultimately, everyone's coverage needs and requirements and expectations and budgets will vary. But ultimately, with Pacific Prime, we've got quite a strong position in the market, and we work with an array of different providers as well. So we can always meet the insurance requirements for every single individual. We do find, particularly in Asia, there are elevated costs of medical treatment. So where I'm based in Thailand, as well as places like Singapore, Hong Kong, China. Again, if you were to self-insure, as we say, so where you would pay out of pocket, that's fine. But ultimately, you've got to think as well, if you're admitted even once in a year of the next 5 years, that's quite a considerable amount of money to pay out when you compare that to, say, paying an annual premium for your insurance and other savings that you might do. High cost of treatment, as I mentioned, but also in Asia, you get sort of exotic and tropical diseases, an increasing amount of road traffic accidents. So this sort of thing really plays into the need, or the increasing need, to buy health insurance.
Yeah, and I think just following on from that, just the need for
Of
everybody. I think some people
course.
think, oh, I'm an adult, I'm working, I need the insurance, when actually kids need that cover as well. And I speak from experience. My son was admitted to hospital before he was one. and the cost of the night stay, and this goes a little bit into the expense of hospitals in Asia, the cost of the night stay alone was more than the insurance cover that we had paid. So I definitely think it's something that everybody needs. It's not just adults, the kids need it as well. And especially if you're a little bit older, it's something that you should definitely be having if you don't have that cover already.
Absolutely.
So, do people need health insurance to live in Asia?
So it depends. There's two ways to answer that. So as I mentioned previously, for visa requirements, there might be. And look, at Pacific Prime, we're insurance brokers, so we're not visa experts. So I always suggest that it's up to the individual to know the requirements for their specific visa. Then we can always cater and tailor the plans that are available to their needs. But otherwise, it's not strictly mandated. It's not a legal requirement. But again, look, for myself as an expat as well, I come from the UK where there's state-funded healthcare, and that's great. But look, in Thailand, where I'm based now, is a privatized healthcare where the need for insurance has increased. So it's not a necessity, but I would always recommend that um, for that, as I said, the added layer of peace of mind that you'd get.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's, again, that goes back to what you said before, the inflated costs of using hospitals
Absolutely.
here
Absolutely.
simply because of the way the medical system and the insurance system is. I do definitely recommend that. Yeah,
I think as well,
everybody.
just to build on what I just mentioned as well, Michael. So across Asia, and particularly again specific to Thailand, medical inflation is running quite high. So what I mean by that is that whilst the healthcare here is absolutely excellent in facilities across Thailand, ultimately the cost of treatment is going up, which does have a knock-on effect with insurance premiums. So current figures stipulate that I think medical inflation is running about 13% in Thailand, which ultimately has an impact on the premiums as well. So look, again, if you were to pay out of pocket, fine. But like you said, an admission to a hospital is quite a costly affair. So that'd be the recommendation that myself and all of our advisors at Pacific Prime would say in regards to health insurance when living in Asia.
And just to back that up, I think everyone within my uh, business at Holborn across Asia is definitely something that we include in our service simply because of all the reasons that you've gone over there, Tom, is we do
Mm.
need to make sure that you're covered as part of protecting your financial future as well. Now, obviously, there are lots of adverts online for health insurance, life insurance, whatever the case may be. And from my experience, some of those companies can be a little bit misleading. So, what
Mm.
are some of the major pitfalls of people are finding when they're trying to find the right cover for themselves, or what should they be avoiding?
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good question, Michael. So that's a key consideration as well when actually assessing your coverage needs. So there's a number of different pitfalls. The first one and the most common that I find is purchasing on price only. Look, we all want to secure a good deal, and I think that's fairly normal. However, insurance is like anything else, whereby you get what you pay for, and insurance is an intangible product whereby you only really know the true quality of the product you've purchased when you're actually using it. So for insurance, that's when you're claiming. So that's when you can really see the true claim service of the insurer, how proactive they are in terms of settling medical bills, keeping you updated. That's probably the biggest pitfall of all, because like I said, a lot of insurers will incentivize purchase now with a cheaper premium. But again, when you claim the service is shoddy, or as well in terms of, sort of more looking more long term beyond the first year, is reliability from a pricing perspective. So what I mean by that is that renewal ultimately with health insurance, the premiums will go up because, as I mentioned previously, so it runs in line with medical inflation as well as economic inflation. And ultimately, we're all getting older, and the older that we get, ultimately, the premiums have to reflect that. However, with some providers, as I said, cheap premium the first year, but then second year, 20% increase, third year, 30, 40. There's such a sort of variance in the premiums offered. It just shows that that insurance provider is unreliable and it isn't really practical or feasible. I always recommend that when you are buying health insurance, don't just think about the now, think about the 3 to 5 years in the future. You want to stay on the plan for as long as you can. Ultimately, if you, in terms of practicality, but also there's no additional underwriting that's needed. You don't have to submit medical documents, etc. So yeah, short answer for the first pitfall is buying purely on price. A second one is that the service and the coverage varies between providers. So at Pacific Prime, we work with a number of different providers across the market, some international and some local. Ultimately, the product and the scope of coverage as well as the service does vary, which is reflected in the premiums. So again, our consultant-specific prime will talk you through that process, explain what's covered and what's not, as well as our own experience with the service with these insurers. Additionally, is over-insurance or more commonly under-insurance. So what I mean by that, particularly with under-insurance, is where someone buys, again, going back to the premium issue, they want to undercut costs, so they buy what's called an inpatient-only policy, which really is just for emergency onlys. Whereas, say that individual, for example, wants to go to the GP or utilize medication or go to the emergency room, ultimately that's not covered. So we'll identify a gap in their cover, and then we can discuss that and tailor the specific policies that individual needs. But again, that's something that we find is an issue, particularly when someone's looking to make a claim, and ultimately the last thing you want is to be told that it's not covered and you've got to pay out of pocket. So that's another pitfall. And then just more generally is exclusions that would apply. So whether it's general exclusions to a policy or specific medical exclusions. So just to briefly explain the process. So with medical insurance, when you purchase the policy, you'll undergo underwriting, where the insurance company will assess the medical information that you've submitted, and then they'll base the coverage terms on that medical information. So they might exclude, which tends to be fairly standard now across the market. When I say exclude, it just means that there's no coverage linked to that medical condition. So, for example, if you have hypertension, a policy might stipulate that there's no claims covered directly related to hypertension. So that's something that you need to be acutely aware of. And again, our advisors at Pacific Prime will communicate that clearly so that you know when you're buying insurance, you know exactly what's covered and what's not, which is how it should be as well when purchasing anything. So I appreciate there's quite a few there and quite a long answer to your question. But those are the most common pitfalls that we find.
No, I think I understand. Obviously, it took a while to explain, but I think it's quite good that you explain them in detail. And a big thing to point out there, as Tom just mentioned, that is only three of the pitfalls, and they're probably the biggest one. And there is quite a lot of other pitfalls to look out for. So, how are you guys at Pacific Prime actually helping clients to avoid them in general? I know you have a great quote system, etc., but
Mm.
how are you making sure that everything is included for the client?
So our company motto is quite literally simplifying insurance. So we make the process as easy and as straightforward as possible. Because like you mentioned before, there are a lot of ads online, a lot of misleading insurance agents, unfortunately. However, with our advisors here, we have a deep understanding of the market. We work with a wide array of different providers. So when someone gets in contact with us, we can offer a face-to-face consultation in our office here in Central Bangkok. We can, of course, email you. We can call you over the phone, have Zoom meetings, etc. Ultimately, we understand that everyone's insurance needs are different, and that one person's reason to buy insurance or their budget or their coverage needs are different to someone else, and that's fine. But ultimately, it's for us to listen and understand those needs, and then ultimately we'll then go to the insurers and then provide plans that we feel are most suitable for you as well. We're not working with any specific insurance company. We're not biased in that sense. We are completely impartial. So ultimately, we listen and understand, and we'll tailor those quotations and those products specific to your needs.
Just a couple of things I picked up on there, Tom. You mentioned that you can do face-to-face meetings in Bangkok,
Mm,
but you do also have
mm.
other offices in the region as well, don't you, that people can go into for face-to-face meetings if they wanted to?
We do, yes. We have strategic locations across Asia and actually worldwide. So we have offices in Hong Kong, Dubai, China, Indonesia, Malaysia. So yeah, right across the region we've got a presence, which is why we are the largest health insurance
Yeah.
broker in Asia.
No, that's great to know. And also, just to mention there, Tom mentioned that they're not biased to any insurance company. This is why we like to use Pacific Prime, simply because a lot of other insurance brokers that we've spoken to are biased towards other insurance companies. So this is why we like and feel comfortable sending our clients to Tom and the guys at Pacific Prime, because they do look after our clients and make sure they do get the right service that's needed.
Absolutely. And just
Okay.
just to build on that as well. Sorry, Michael, sorry to interject there.
Okay.
Lastly, we make that very clear as well throughout the process of purchasing and the consultations. So when we send our quotations, the premiums that we get from the providers are the exact same premium you would get if you went to the insurance company directly. Ultimately, as brokers, we are commissioned from the insurance providers, but that's not levied onto the premium. Whereas, like you said, there are other insurance providers and other agents who will add that commission to the payable premium. So ultimately, we're very, very clear and transparent in that as well.
Yeah. So Tom's given us a really good overview of health insurance as a general there. And as we've mentioned, the guys at Pacific Prime are very helpful and they're there for you if you need them. So what we'll do now is we're going to move on to a Q&A. But before we do, I'd just like to thank Tom and all of you for joining today. If you would like to know how we can help you personally or ask any more questions, please do feel free to scan the QR code that will appear on your screen in a moment, or send an email to the email address. And of course, don't forget, this is a 3-part insurance series. So hopefully you'll join us for part 2, which will be on the 26th of February, where we will be discussing life insurance. Now, I've had a few questions come through, but let me just share my screen first. So for anybody who wants to scan the QR code or book a meeting, they can do. Excuse me. There we go. That should be on your screen now. So I've had some questions come through on the Q&A. So let me just start asking those now. So the first one I've got here is how do I get a quote?
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. So there's a number of different ways you can get in contact with us at Pacific Prime. So firstly, the old-fashioned go on the website. If you input your details, which be your name and your email address and phone number, that'll get again sent to one of our insurance providers who will then contact you. You can give us a call on the phone. We've also got a social media presence as well. So that's on Twitter, or X, I should say. On LinkedIn, we've got a line chat, a WhatsApp chat. Also on our website, there's like a chat bot that you can communicate directly with us. You can also walk into our office. As I mentioned, we're in Planchit in Bangkok, and we'll always have our doors open and welcome anyone to come and have a chat with us. And all the consultations and communication we have is completely free as well. If you decide that you don't want to buy insurance with us, absolutely fine. We don't charge a fee for that as well. So there's a number of different ways that you can.
Well, that's great. Next question is, will you be there to support me if I have an issue or make a claim?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll always be with you throughout the lifespan of the insurance policy. So that's from the first day of purchase right the way through to renewal and beyond. So when you actually purchase the policy, the insurance advisor who you were in discussion with will act as your point of contact for the first 11 months of the policy term. So that means that if you have any questions or queries or want to make any changes to the policy and ultimately and somewhat probably most importantly make a claim, that person can always assist you. They'll be there in terms of their WhatsApp details. Again, you can come and talk with us. We also have an in-house claims department, which actually is quite niche and a bit of a USP for us as an insurance broker. So this is a team that's employed by Pacific Prime and based in our office as well, who is a multilingual department who will contact hospitals directly. They'll help the policyholder with claim submission, requesting documents. So a full service support that we can provide. Uniquely as well, we've got what's called our health concierge team. So that's a specific team that's dedicated to servicing yourselves as the policyholders. They can book appointments at medical facilities, they can source specialists, locate suitable medication, as well as discounts on dental treatment or annual health checks. So again, that support is there throughout your time as a policyholder with Pacific Prime. After 11 months, like I said, your details and your policy will then get sent to our in-house renewals department, who will then discuss your renewal options. They'll send you details on your current policy. They can make changes as well, whether that's in terms of the coverage or the premium, etc. And they can also send you alternative quotations as well, based on current premiums at that point in the market.
Great. And just to follow up on that, obviously us as Holborn as well, if you contact through us, we'll be there to support you through anything if you decide to use us for the services. And also if you want to quote, etc. Again, scan the QR or my email is on there. We can also help you get those quotes, no problem. You touched on this slightly before, Tom, but someone has asked it again in the Q&A. What are your fees?
None, none. Like I said, the quoted premiums are direct from the insurance provider themselves. So there's no additional charges or fees at all. And when we send our quotations, we have very clear wording at the bottom that stipulates to that effect. And yeah, and we're always sort of very clear compared to other
No,
providers in the market. So
that's very
none.
good to hear. Very good to hear. Next question that's come through is, do you use a wide range of companies, including local companies and international companies? I assume they mean the actual insurers.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. So we work with quite a large portfolio of different insurance providers. Like I said, some that are international that do provide more comprehensive coverage as well as the service. They are fully licensed across Asia as well. So you can utilize them and purchase them whether you're in Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Malaysia, etc. And in Thailand, again, where I'm based, we do work with the local market as well. And again, they're viable options as well for comprehensive as well as more affordable coverage as well. So yeah, we do have a very broad range of providers.
Good. Next question. How and what policy can I get as a 56-year-old that covers me and my kids also?
Look, there are multiple options available. Again, internationally speaking or local, there'll be providers that can suit the needs for someone who's 56 years old with a family. I said the premiums will vary from provider to provider as well as the service, but ultimately that's where my and our expertise as insurance advisors will come in. So, regarding that specific question, I'm more than happy to contact the individual and we can get the ball rolling and have that discussion. And I can send some initial quotations and really hone in on plans that are specific and meet the requirements.
Great. That sort of rolls into the next question that I've had, which
Mm.
says, do you do family cover? You've obviously semi-answered that, but I'll obviously let you answer that anyway.
We do, absolutely, yeah. So whether it's an individual, two people, three people, four, yes, we can. And actually, it might be more cost effective as well to actually insure on a family plan rather than for individuals with four separate policies. Because some insurance providers will offer a plurality or a family discount, which means that you'll get a discount now as well as a renewal thereafter. So it actually might be more affordable to do that.
Okay, great. And then the last question I've got here, so if anybody has got any other questions, please pop them in the Q&A now. I have, can I get cover if I have a chronic illness or other diseases?
You absolutely can, yes. So that's important in terms of which insurer we feel is most suitable for you with medical conditions. Look, most people do have medical conditions. It's not uncommon, and insurance providers as well as insurance brokers know that. So there are a number of different providers that can cover, but again, it depends on the medical condition, the stability, how long you've had it. I mean, ultimately, it is up to the underwriting team at the insurance providers. But our job at Pacific Prime is to support that process. We represent you as the policyholder, not the insurance company. So we are there to support you and ensure that you are getting the best terms possible and for the most competitive premium as well. But short answer, yes, absolutely, we can.
That's good to hear because I know, especially in Thailand, a lot of people like to retire here. They may have previous conditions, etc. So it's great that they can still
Absolutely.
get cover for whether they need it for their visa or they just need
Mm,
it because they want cover here. So that's very good
mm.
to hear. All right, well, that's the end of the questions. So once again, I just want to thank you, Tom, and I want to thank all of you for joining. I hope it's been informative. Please feel free to reach out if you do have any more questions, and hopefully you'll join us either on the 26th of February or the 3rd of March for the other two webinars that we will be holding in this series. But for now, that's it. And once again, thank you very much, and I hope you all have a lovely evening.